Hi, welcome to my video on squares and cubes of rational numbers. The square of a rational number. A over B is a fraction, which is a rational number. And that's A over B times A over B, which is A squared, B squared. And notice that your denominator has to be a natural number when you do these, because natural numbers has no zeros, and division by zero is a no-no. Example ones, we're going to simplify all of these now, 6 of them. Negative a half squared is a negative a half times a negative a half, which is negative times negative is a positive. 1 times 1 is 1, 2 times 2 is 4. So 1/3 squared is 1/3 times 1/3. 1 times 1 is 1. 3 times 3 is 9. So to square a number means to multiply it by itself. Negative 4 over 5 times negative 4 over 5. Negative times negative is a positive because you got like signs. 16 over 25. We change our mixed numeral to an improper fraction. So what we do, we go 1 times 3 plus 1. That's 4 over 3, make it negative. And we square negative 4 over 3 times negative 4 over 3, and that gives us 16 over 9. And again, a negative times a negative is a positive. Like signs when you multiply is positive. And we have 2 times 5 is 10, plus 3 is 13 over 5, and is negative squared. So negative 13 over 5 times negative 13 over 5. Negative times negative is a positive. 13 times 13 is 1, let's see, probably just a brain. 9, 3, 3, 1. It's 169. And 5 times 5 is 25. And you can leave it as, notice you can leave these as improper fractions, or divide 9 into 16 and make it a mixed numeral. And there's a negative there. This is already, there's no mixed numeral here, so it's just a negative 5 over 8 times negative 5 over 8. Need the negative right there, so we multiply these two first. We get a positive 25 over 8 8s are 64. And the negative of that makes it a negative 25 over 64. So we got to do your square first. So you square these two numbers, and then you do the negative of whatever you get. Practice. So if you pause your video, work the 5 of these out, and when you're finished, play it back to see if you're right. So negative 2/3 times negative 2/3 is a positive 4 over 9. Negative of improper mixed numeral to an improper fraction. 1 times 2 plus 1 is 3 over 2 negative. And we square these first by BEDMAS, by PEMDAS. Remember, PEMDAS. You have to do your inside of your brackets first, which we did. Simplify that to an improper fraction. And then we have to do our exponent next. So that gives us a positive 9 over 4, and the negative of that is a negative 9 over 4. And as I said, if you want, you can divide 4 into 9 to get 2, and 1 left over, so it's negative 2 1/4 if you want an improper fraction. Change to mixed numeral. So that's a negative. 2 times 4 is 8, plus 1 is 9 over 4. And it's negative squared, negative 9 over 4 times negative 9 over 4, positive 81 over 16. And if you want to divide 16 again into 81, it's a 5. 5 16ths are 80, so it's 1 1/16. 5 1/16. Number 4, we have a negative, and we square negative 4/5 times negative 4/5. And that gives us a positive 16 over 25. And we do the negative of that. And same thing here, number 5. It's a negative of Notice 6 over 9 can reduce, so if I reduce that now, it makes it easier on squaring. 3 into 6 goes 2, 3 into 9 goes 3, and now I got 2/3 times 2/3. So that gives me the negative of 4 over 9, which is a negative 4 over 9. Okay, that's squaring done. Let's look at the cube of a rational number. The cube of a rational number, a over b cubed, is a over b times a over b times a over b. And which is a times a times a is a cubed. B times b times b is b cubed. And notice your denominator has to be a natural number. Cannot have a 0. So let's work out some examples. A half cubed is a half times a half times a half, which is 1 times 1 times 1 is 1, 2 times 2 is 4, times 2 is 8. Negative 1/3 cubed, so it's a negative 1/3 multiplied by itself 3 times. Negative times a negative times a negative is a negative because it's an odd number. 1 times 1 times 1 is 1. 3 times 3 is 9, times 3 is 27. Negative 2/3 cubed is a negative 2/3 times negative 2/3 times negative 2/3. Notice I can use the dot to indicate multiplication, put in brackets, whatever you want. 3 negatives multiplied as an odd number is negative. 2 times 2 is 4, times 2 is 8. And 3 times 3 is 9, times 3 is 27. And we change the mixed numeral to an improper fraction. 1 times 5 is 5, plus 1 is 6 over 5 negative. And that's a negative 6 over 5 times negative 6 over 5 times negative 6 over 5. And that gives us 6x is 36, and it's 216. And it's negative because it's an odd number. And we get 5 times 5 is 25, times 5 is 125. And 125 divided into 216 is 1. 125 divided into 216. Once, and we get 125. Subtract, we get a 1. And we can't subtract there, so that makes that a 1 and 11. So 11 subtract 2 is 9. So it's 1 and 91 over 125. But notice it's negative. So it's a negative 1 and 91 over 125. E, we have a negative, and we change the mixed numeral to an improper fraction. 4 plus 1 is 5 over 2 negative. And we have a little square in here. Let's put a cube here. We're doing cubes, so let's put a cube here instead of a square. So that's a cube. So that's the negative of negative 5 over 2 times negative 5 over 2 times negative 5 over 2. And let's multiply these first. So that's a negative times a negative is positive, times a negative is a negative. But again, there's an odd number, so immediately put a negative. 25 times 5 is 125. 2 times 2 times 2 is 8. So that gives us a negative of a negative is a positive, so it's 125 over 8. And 8 divided into 125 by a pencil. Again, 125 divided by 8 with a calculator. You turn on your calculator and go 125 division 8. And you get, notice you get a 15 and decimal 625. So I know I'm going to get a 15. So 8 into 12 goes once. So 1 times 8 is 8. Subtract and I get a 4. Bring down your 5. 8 times 5 is 40. And I get a 5. So the answer is 15 and 5 over 8. And it's positive. F, the negative of, notice the 2 over 10 can reduce. 2 into 2 goes once, 2 into 10 goes 5. Reducing it makes it easier when you cube it. So the negative of 1/5 times 1/5 times 1/5. And that's the negative of 1 times 1 times 1 is 1. 5 times 5 is 25 times 5 is 125. And the negative of 125 is negative 1 over 125. And you have a practice here, so pause your video and work these out and play it back to see if you got the right answers. Here we go. Negative 1/5, negative 1/5, negative 1/5 when you cube it. And that's negative 1 over 125. The negative of 3 over 10, 3 over 10, and 3 over 10. Now some of you might be wondering, why over here am I putting the brackets on these, and over here I didn't? Well, I have a negative outside of here, so I'm putting these in brackets because I'm going to multiply these first and then do the negative of that. Whereas over here I have no net, there's a plus on the outside, so I'm just writing these as a multiplication with the dot. So that's why I have the brackets here, not here. So that's the negative of, it's negative times a negative times a negative is odd numbers is negative. 3 times 3 times 3 is 27. And 10 times 10 times 10 is 1,000. Because you get 100. You got 3 zeros, so it's 1,000. And the negative of that negative is a positive, so you get 27 over 1,000. 3, you have the negative of 2/3, 2/3, 2/3. Negative 8, negative 8 over 27, so that's negative 8 over 27. The negative of mixed numerals with an improper fraction. 1 times 2 is 2, plus 1 is 3, so it's the negative 3 over 2. So that's the negative of negative 3 over 2, negative 3 over 2, negative 3 over 2. So that's the negative of negative times a negative times negative. Odd number is negative. 3 times 3 is 9, is 27. 2 times 2 is 4, times 2 is 8. And the negative of a negative is a positive, so it's a 27 over 8. And 8 into 20, 3 eighths are 24, and 24, 27 subtract 24 is 3, so it's 3 and 3/8. Number 5. Notice I have a negative on the bottom, so I'm going to remove that negative. So negative divided by negative is a positive. Okay, now I'm going to cube it, so it's 4 over 5 times 4 over 5 times 4 over 5. And that becomes a negative of 4 times 4 is 16, times 4 is 64. 25 times 5 is 125. And so I have the negative of 64 over 125. Number 6, again, I got a negative on the bottom, shouldn't have it. So negative divided by negative is a positive. And notice that 2 goes into 2 once. 2 goes into 6, 3. So notice I cancel the negatives because the negative divided by negative is positive. And you should not have a negative in the denominator of a fraction. So now I have 1/3 times 1/3 times 1/3, which is 1 over 27. And I have a negative in the bottom, so let's remove that and move it to the top. Positive divided by negative is a negative, so I can make that a negative 1 over 2. Again, no negative in the bottom. Simplify that first. And if you had gone with 1 times negative 2, 1 times negative 2, like that, 1 times negative 2, you still would have got 1 times 1 is 1. 1 times 1 times 1 is 1. Negative 2 times negative 2 times negative 2 is negative 8. And then you could have changed it after. But if you change it at the beginning, obey that rule and you can't go wrong by taking the negative at the bottom right away. So now I have negative times negative times negative is a negative. 1 times 1 is 1 times 1. 1 times 1 times 1 is 1. 2 times 2 times 2 is 8. And I get the same answer no matter how I do it. Thank you very much. Notice we're at the end. Thank you for viewing the video. And if you like my video, click on the like button, the subscribe button, the notification bell. Write a comment on my video if you wish. And you may visit my math website at www.mathfullyexplained.com. And you have information about me in one section, which tells you about my degrees and teaching experience. Another section, on the section on videos, it tells you the teaching strategies you're going to use to help you learn your math. And most important is the section on content, which has the topics or the units that I'm going to do, the number of videos that I have on each topic, in particular. The black font is the videos that are online right now, and the red font is the ones that will be coming in the near future. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.